Thus far, the PlayStation 4 has had a pretty sparse selection of JRPGs. But that seems to be changing in a big way in 2016 as there are a ton of great JRPGs to play this year. In this video, we'll be covering the top 10 upcoming JRPGs of 2016. Let's get into this. Number 10, World of Final Fantasy. World of Final Fantasy follows the story of two siblings in the world of Grimoire, where you'll encounter characters and creatures from many of the past Final Fantasy games. The game is being developed with the intent to feel like an earlier Final Fantasy title, with accessibility being a big focus of the game. The game is definitely not going to be for everyone, with things like the chibi art style and the simplistic gameplay that are going to turn a lot of people off. However, the game has an interesting premise and at the very least can be somewhat of a unique experience to seasoned Final Fantasy fans. World of Final Fantasy doesn't have an exact release date yet, but we know it's coming in 2016. Number 9, ODINSPHERE Leifthrasir. For many, ODINSPHERE was the game that put developers Vanillaware on the map. Since the release of the original ODINSPHERE, they've worked on games like Muramasa the Demon Blade and Dragon's Crown. ODINSPHERE Leifthrasir isn't a brand new game, rather it's an HD remake of the original title. The obvious thing you'll notice about ODINSPHERE is the gorgeous art style, which is par for the course for Vanillaware. ODINSPHERE plays as a 2D action RPG where the story of 5 characters unfolds. If you missed out on ODINSPHERE back in 2007, give the remake a look when it releases on June 7th. Number 8, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Digimon games have been rather sparse over the last few years, so it's nice to see that the guys over at Bandai Namco are bringing Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth over to the States, this time also on the PS4. The game was initially released in 2015 in Japan on the PS Vita, so don't expect any blowaway visuals. The gameplay itself is similar to that of a traditional JRPG with turn-based combat. There's obvious similarities to Pokemon, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, with Cyber Sleuth you can expect more of a fleshed out story. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth's release is just around the corner as it's scheduled to ship February 2nd. Number 7, Gravity Rush 2. The original Gravity Rush was one of the best games on the PlayStation Vita. In the game you play as Kat, a girl that can use gravity to wall run, float, and other various things. It's a very unique and interesting game, however on the PS Vita it did have some issues with its camera and controls, so hopefully that's remedied with the transition to the PlayStation 4. Gravity Rush has potential to become a big franchise for Sony, so hopefully with the release of the sequel, more people will check it out. And if you've never played the original Gravity Rush, you'll want to know that it's being released on the PS4 in the form of an HD remaster. That releases on February 2nd, while the sequel is set to come sometime in 2016. Number 6, Nioh. Nioh is a game that's been in development for a very long time. The game was originally announced in 2004, but it went MIA forever. At the Tokyo Game Show last year, Nioh was finally re-revealed as a PlayStation 4 exclusive, and it instantly became a very promising game. The story of Nioh follows William, a samurai and son of a Japanese lord during the Warring States period. The game's look is similar to Onimusha, while the gameplay has a lot of resemblance to Dark Souls. Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting to say the least. Developers Team Ninja hope to release Nioh sometime in 2016. Number 5, Star Ocean, Integrity, and Faithlessness. Probably not the most concise title for a game of all time, but who cares, Star Ocean is finally back. The new game takes place between Star Ocean 2 and 3. The battle system is very similar to games in the past where you control one character while freely switching between them in real-time action battles. The cutscenes were a major problem in the last Star Ocean game, but Tri-Ace is hoping to fix that problem with them being seamlessly integrated into the gameplay. It should be noted that this game is being developed primarily for the PlayStation 3, and the PS4 version will just be a port. Regardless, it'll be nice to see Star Ocean make a comeback in 2016. Number 4, Nier Automata. The original Nier was one of the most underrated games of the last generation consoles. Aesthetically, Nier was a terrific game with a great art style and stellar music. However, there were issues with the gameplay, but that shouldn't be a problem in Nier Automata as the game is being developed by Platinum Games. This time around, the game looks to be a very fast-paced action RPG, so expect much better gameplay, but the excellent presentation will be retained. And don't worry if you never played the original Nier, because Automata is being designed in a way that any player can jump into it and enjoy. The game doesn't have an exact release date yet, but it will be coming in 2016. Number 3, Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. Ni no Kuni was one of the PlayStation 3's best games, so it's easy to see why the excitement was so high when Level 5 announced the development of a sequel. There's a lot of things that made Ni no Kuni amazing: the great story, character development, gameplay, and of course the amazing Studio Ghibli visuals. With Ni no Kuni 2, you can expect the same kind of brilliance. The story follows King Evan and his journey to reclaim his kingdom. We still don't know much about Ni no Kuni 2, but hopefully the game makes 2016, but that's still uncertain at this point. Regardless, expect the game to be very good. Number 2, Final Fantasy 15. You can go on and on about Final Fantasy 15. The game was originally announced back in 2006 as a PlayStation 3 exclusive. For a bit, some thought that the game was quietly cancelled. However, when the game finally was re-revealed in 2013 as a next-generation title, those worries were put to rest. Final Fantasy 15 is arguably the most ambitious JRPG of all time. You can already tell that from the excellent graphics, but also expect a gigantic world to explore in the game. The gameplay is real-time action-based, which is a nice change of pace for the Final Fantasy games, and it seems to be integrated seamlessly into the world. After the long wait, Final Fantasy 15's release is finally in sight, as it's scheduled to come this year. Number 1, Persona 5. Persona has always had a very niche following. Fans of Japanese RPGs really enjoyed the games, but it always had a small fan base. However, that's quietly been changing over the last few years, partly due to the excellence of Persona 4 Golden on the PS Vita. Now, after nearly 8 years, a brand new numbered entry in the Persona series finally arrives, Persona 5. Persona 5 once again follows the same structure of the previous game. The protagonist is transferred to a new high school, and eventually things get out of control. The cool thing about Persona is that it's always not about progressing the story and fighting the villains. The games have a very addicting social aspect to them that adds a bit of variety to the games. However, expect the story of Persona 5 to be very engrossing, and it seems a bit darker than recent games. Persona 5 was originally supposed to come out last year, however the game got delayed and now it's scheduled to release sometime this year. So that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 upcoming PS4 JRPGs of 2016. What do you think? What games are you most excited for? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching and goodbye.